happy to be standing with our brothers and sisters that are also part of the Excluded Worker Congress. Today, on International Human Rights Day, we are standing at the Harriet Tubman statue in New York, and we will be joined by brothers and sisters in San Francisco, in Birmingham, Alabama, and in Washington, D.C. to release this very important report called Unity for Dignity, a report by the Excluded Worker Congress that highlights the inspiring work of organizations and workers across the country that are trying to expand the right to organize within the framework as a human right. The Excluded Worker Congress was formed earlier this summer as the U.S. Social Forum. Workers from 9 different sectors, including day laborers, domestic workers, restaurant workers, taxi drivers, came together to form the Excluded Worker Congress with a vision, to expand the right to organize as a human right, with a vision to usher a new era of policies for workers, and ultimately to transform the U.S. labor movement. So today we're very excited to hear the stories of these workers and these amazing organizations on International Human Rights Day. Thank you.
New York Taxi Workers Alliance and from the International Taxi Workers Alliance, which is a broad coalition of taxi workers organizations from across the United States and Canada. Extremely glad to be here as part of the report release, and the Excluded Workers Congress is surely one of the formations that is going to be really crucial and critical in the creation of a new environment for labor organizing. The right to organize to begin with, the right to create new structures of political power for workers who have traditionally been left out of the process of any consideration as being labor in the United States. The taxi drivers all across the United States are rated as independent contractors, and that effectively means that you're not covered by the National Labor Relations Act, and it's effectively a structure of what can broadly be called horse hiring, wherein drivers pay a lease up front and start working at the beginning of their shift at amounts like minus $150 or minus $160 is how much they put down on lease and gas, and then they have to make up that money and then earn a living to earn a dollar to put bread on the table for their family. In other words, it's essentially a system wherein all concepts of minimum wage, all concepts of a living wage, all of those go out of the window, because it's theoretically possible in any one day that you can actually work a 10-12-hour shift and go home with negative money in your pocket. Now, that, when you think about it within the context of a worker, when you think about it within the context of labor, it just violates and it fundamentally destroys anything and everything that labor has gained over the last 150 or 200 years of struggle. And so it is for the recovery of a certain set of standards that have been created over the years, and advancing us to new situations wherein workers are respected, they have dignity, and they have the right to earn a living that we are all gathered here for. Thank you so much for everybody else who's here, and I'm sure that the report is going to play a really important role as we move forward in this struggle. Thanks.
I'm a union with the National Employment Law Project. We had the honor and privilege to work with the Excluded Workers Congress to sort of capture the stories of the workers who are excluded from some of the many core labor rights. And so you all talked about what the significance of this report. I would just add that this is the first of its kind to really sort of set out the landscape of what the excluded workers, who the excluded workers are in the United States, and it's also an opportunity to really invite folks to join this exciting and vibrant movement that's growing.
morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
How we doing this morning?
Good. Cool.
Okay, we're gonna warm it up this morning, all right? I would like to share my testimony with you all this morning. I've been a nanny for the past 12 years. My former job lasted 6.5 years. During these years, I suffered a lot of verbal abuse. I have been put down and cursed at. In 6.5 years, I have never had overtime pay. When I would ask these things, the verbal abuse would start. But it's hard when you have bills to pay and family depending on you. That is why I humbled myself. The little girl that I was taking care of is a wonderful little girl. She needed me as much as I needed that job. That was another reason why I stayed. My job finally ended when I was verbally and physically abused by my former employer. He crossed the line by viciously insulting me and hitting me. I'm seeking justice for what I experienced with the help of Domestic Workers United. People, and I have photos to show you this is real, the kind of abuse that we suffer in this workplace and in this work industry. They have more than one. They have more than one.
Inflation.
That is when I get punched in my face and I said I'm not taking it, and I take the phone. He grabbed onto my hands and told me don't use his phone. I was even called a stupid black bee, but that's all good too. That's why I'm standing here this morning for the woman who don't have the voice, for the woman who is weaker than I am, and they won't stop us. This will not happen if I had protection from all the labor laws. That's respect for the work I do. So today I'm speaking out for me and all other domestic workers and all excluded workers who have been discriminated against and treated unjustly. I am the voice of 200,000 of us. The fingers cold can't handle the paper right. Yes, I'm the voice of 200,000 of us who give our hearts and our health to take care of New York family. These incidents would not happen over and over again if we were really respected and recognized under the law. We need to be included in the labor law, and we need the labor laws that work for us. As a domestic worker, we are excluded by the name in the National Labor Relations Act. We don't have the right to organize and negotiate together to improve our working conditions. We are all alone on our job. We need a collective bargaining law that understands and that corresponds with the way that our industry is set up. Even when we are not excluded by the name, we are still left out because our labor laws were not made for us in mind. We need labor laws that are right for this 21st century. That is right. And just for workers who were left out, and that recognize us as human beings who deserve dignified working conditions. Thank you very much, everybody. Dynamic people! Yes!
Hi, my name is Rafael.
¡Hable duro!
I am a member of I am a member of Road New York, which is the restaurant workers-led organization that represents more than 4,300 workers in the city of New York. We do training, research, and organize workers to make improvements in the restaurant industry. Road New York has done reports on restaurant workers. I have been working in the restaurant industry for more than 10 years. The restaurant industry has a lot of discrimination, exploitation, and abuses. In my own experience, which is the experience of many, I have seen and faced overworking conditions, working from 12 to 14 hours a day, 6 or 7 days a week. We don't get paid overtime. Moreover, our owners steal hours. So let's say that you work 60, they're gonna pay you 30 hours. We don't get paid trainings. Sometimes we don't even get trainings, and this makes our jobs more dangerous. We work under staff. That means that if we have to do several jobs at the same time. And then also managers and owners steal tips from the workers. That's illegal. Then we also have the owners negligence to be responsible in compliance with the workers' compensation insurance. So if a worker gets injured while the worker is working, they don't want to pay. We lack sick days. So if I am sick, and I call that I cannot work, so I get fired right away. There is a lot of sexual harassment in the industry, mostly to women. So owners and managers harass hostesses, waitresses, bartenders. So the harassment comes from the people who has the power. There is also a lot of discrimination. We don't get promotions, and the hiring process, the best positions are for whites, and the people of color is a stereotype. So we get the less paid jobs and the worst jobs, the ones that require more physical stress. So in general, there is a lot of exploitation and discrimination in the industry because of the ambition and ignorance from restaurant owners and managers who see these practices as a way to enrich themselves. They enrich themselves faster at the cost of exploiting workers. So it is time to stop these practices.
Good morning, everyone. How you doing?
Good morning, Mia.
My name is Mia Bell. I'm from Community Voices Heard in East Harlem, New York. My name is Mia Bell. I am a leader at Community Voices Heard for the last 4 years. I am here today representing the sector of workfare workers. I am a former welfare recipient and had to do workfare or WEP, Work Experience Program as it is called in New York City. Workfare workers work for their welfare checks. This is modern day slavery. In order to receive food stamps, some housing assistance, and $85 cash every 2 weeks, I have to do 35 hours of WEP and work readiness, or in New York City, back to work. This is about $1 per hour. At WEP, I do not get paid, no contributions to Social Security, no workers' comp, no unemployment, no workers' compensation. I do not get sick days, personal days, or vacation pay days, or otherwise. If I miss a day without a doctor's note, I get a sanction and my benefits can be turned off. Instead of getting a real check, I have different, but many have a workfare program. Workfare is actually spreading. England is considering, and it is already happening in Australia and Israel. New York City is the model. Transitional jobs are the alternative. Transitional jobs give people a paycheck, training, and union membership. We are part of the Excluded Worker Congress because we believe that workfare is a modern form of slavery and it's a violation of our human rights. We are joining together with other excluded workers to fight to end exploitation of all workers. Thank you.
And what we say, we fired up, can't take it no more.
Fire it up, can't take it no more. Fire it up, can't take it no more.
Fire it up,
Can't take it no more.
fire it up,
Can't take it no more.
yeah. Hey.
I just wanted to share a little bit about the experience of day laborers across the country. Every day, hardworking men and women stand in the street corners across the United States to look for work, doing construction work, landscaping. These workers are often harassed by police. About 1 in 2 of these workers will not receive pay while they are working. There's a high rate of death in the construction industry. They go to work not knowing if they will come back. When I was last in Maricopa County, Arizona, I was very, very troubled by the experience of one of the workers who came to the worker center, who said that his brother had just fallen off of a palm tree while cutting leaves and had died, and that the employer had completely disappeared. He was there at the worker center to try to find money to send the body back home to Guatemala. So these are the kinds of experiences that day laborers across the country face. Not only stolen wages, not only violence, but also death. And that's why we're a part of the Excluded Worker Congress, and that's why we believe that we need a framework about human rights, a framework that values the dignity, values the work of these workers that have built this country on sweat, blood, sweat, tears, and sometimes death. Thank you. Okay, so who here was at Detroit for the first Excluded Workers Congress? Yeah, there we saw, that was the first ever Excluded Workers Congress, and it was a historic event, and we saw the power and the potential of all the excluded worker sectors coming together with over 450 workers and allies in one room. And then following that, in September, we went right to work, and we had a second gathering in D.C., and we decided on 3 campaigns to work together. So the 3 campaigns, well, 2 of them are organizing and legislative campaigns, and the third one is advocacy with the Department of Labor. And at that September meeting, we were able to have a victorious first meeting with the Department of Labor, where Secretary Solis herself sat in, showing us how important it is excluded workers are in this country, as the backbone of this country.
Yeah.
So the first campaign that we decided on is called the Power Act. And this campaign, this act was already introduced by Senators Menendez and Gillibrand in April 2010. And POWER stands for Protect Our Workers Against Exploitation and Retaliation. And this act is meant to protect workers who fight for their human right to organize and assert their human right to dignity on the job. And because they do this, they're threatened by employers with threats of calling immigration authorities and threats of deportation. So this act would give legal protections for workers. It would authorize workers who are victims of serious labor violations and who are cooperating with local, state, and federal worker protection agencies to apply for visas. It would permit law enforcement and worker protection agencies to ask for temporary status with work authorization, and it would provide grounds for a stay of removal in immigration proceedings. So basically what this does is it gives 12 million undocumented workers the right to defend themselves
against ICE and against the retaliation of exploitative employers.
Yeah.
What do we think about that?
Frozen finger. Frozen fingers.
Amen.
So, the second campaign that we're working on is demanding a meaningful minimum wage. Now, the meaningful minimum wage, and that is meant to address the fact that the federal minimum wage is only $7.25 an hour.
Boo!
If it kept pace with inflation, it would be over $10 an hour. And that minimum wage is the wage for millions of workers in this country. And millions of workers are actually excluded even from that minimum wage. That includes agricultural workers and home healthcare workers. So millions of tipped workers actually are legally paid as little as $2.13 an hour.
Criminal.
Criminal. And they say slavery is over in this country. Is slavery over?
No!
Modern day slavery.
In 10 states, the minimum wage is indexed to inflation, so it goes up every year. But at the federal level, it only goes up when Congress passes a law. So all of this is despite the fact that people understand when workers do well, the economy does well. And proposals for increases in the minimum wage are actually popular with voters because they know that workers are the backbone of the economy. So on the federal level, there's a pending proposal to increase the tipped minimum wage. And we as an Excluded Workers Congress support that effort. The Department of Labor is working on regulations that would include home health care workers in the federal minimum wage, and there's a broader campaign to raise and index the minimum wage. So our campaign is to raise and index the minimum wage and include workers who are excluded. So what do we think about that?
Alright, I know we're cold.
So finally, we see the importance of working and advocating with the Department of Labor. The stated mission of the federal and state Department of Labor is to protect workers. But we know that many states across the country have really unresponsive and ineffective departments of labor. This leaves workers vulnerable to rampant violations of baseline labor and employment rights. For example, in Florida, there's no state agency to enforce the State Minimum Wage Act. In Virginia, the State Department of Labor doesn't even investigate worker complaints. So there are many states with inadequate federal Department of Labor resources. So what we really want to do is push the Department of Labor to recognize that excluded workers need these protections. They need to check for violations of labor laws among excluded worker sectors, and we're really trying to push the Department of Labor on that. And as I said, we already had a meeting with them, and we want to continue that advocacy work.
Yes.
So we're going to continue working on those campaigns together in New York and across the country in solidarity with excluded workers. Thank you.
Yay!
Great job!
Yes, we can. Sí se puede. 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 Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Woo!
How do you turn off this camera? Like, how do I stop it?
How do you stop it?
Yeah.
Turn it off, I guess.
No, I don't know what it's gonna say. Mia, how you stop it? You're gonna get like the end of us talking and shit.